I know, it's been way too long for the Avocado Tree series update. Hey everyone, it's Rob the Backyard Gardener here, and it's time for an avocado tree update. Couple of things. I'm going to update you on my 30-month-old avocado tree that's the remaining survivor of the two I started way back in March of 2016. I'm also going to show you the two different smaller versions that I started March of 2018, and they're just over 6 months old now too, and they are growing like weeds. Weeds. Crazy. Anyway, let's get you updated. I know it's been a long time. As I show you the plant, I'm going to talk about why it's not doing that well and some of the learnings I had over this very, very hot summer. Let's go take a look. So first I wanted to update you on my 6-month-old avocado trees that I'm growing here. Look at how tall and big these guys are. So I started them in the pots indoors, and when they got to about a foot tall, I brought them outside. These have done a lot better. This part of the yard gets a lot of shade from all the trees that you see here. So these guys, despite the Texas heat and the blazing sun, they've actually done well. There's a little bit of yellowing on the leaves because, again, avocado trees don't like 100, 105 degree days nonstop blazing down on them, and they got some of that, but the one in the shade, the more shaded plant, has done even better. At the end of the day, for 6 months old, these guys are almost 3 feet tall now. It's crazy. They're a little bit thin on the trunks because they are shaded most of the day, but still, I'm pretty happy with these. Now, the reason why I started a second batch this March is because, as you know, last winter I lost one of my 30-month-old trees, and at the time it was probably only 21 months, and I lost them. So because of that, being down to one plant, and it's been struggling, the one plant, which I'll show you next, I wanted to have a backup set going just to make sure I can continue this series should something happen this winter. Now, I've learned my lesson. Every avocado tree that I left outdoors over the winter pretty much perished. So all of these will be coming indoors over the winter, and I will have the right kind of grow room lighting for them so that they continue to at least thrive as much as possible as they acclimate from being outdoors to indoors, and then more importantly, when they go from being indoors back to outdoors next spring. Anyway, I wanted to give you guys a good look at these. These are also from Haas Avocado seeds. So they're going to be hybrids though, because they're bought at a supermarket and planted from that pit. If you look at the leaves on this one, they're just basically rounded, smooth edged. And on this one, they have ribs or ridges. So I think this might be a different species than that one. Who knows? They're young, hard to tell just yet, and it'll be many more years before we find out what they really are. At the end of the day, 6-month-old, growing like weeds, doing well. It just goes to show you, starting the pits in the dirt and then getting them outside seems to be better than starting them in water, in my opinion. Now that you've seen these, let me show you my 30-month-old one and how he's doing. I'm going to warn you ahead of time, he doesn't look the greatest. He yellowed up a lot. I fertilized them. We've had some overcast the last 5 days, so he's starting to do better. Here he is up here. You can see he has, first of all, we got a lot of pepper plants in the way, and I apologize. These things have gone crazy. I harvested 100 peppers today, and they just keep producing. But bottom line is, let me go ahead and show you this avocado tree. He's really starting to get his woody trunk now, and almost all the way up. He's been worse for wear though, I'll tell you. This guy has struggled. I don't know how he has survived. I've done my best. I probably honestly needed to remove him from this spot when it was in that heat of the 100 days consecutively. I think we had over 100 days in a row at over 95 degrees to 108 degrees. And so he was being baked. Luckily this side of the yard, because of my house, doesn't get full sun all day, but it didn't matter. The heat against the bricks and the sunlight really did a number on him. You can see a lot of his foliage was crisp and burnt. Even the newer foliage has struggled, but we're finally past the 100-degree days. We're starting to get overcast days. We're starting to get more rain. He's really done well the last week to bounce back. A lot of these leaves were droopy, and I'll get you another view in a second. He's put on a lot of growth. Unfortunately, it's a lot of stunted growth because he has struggled. Now, I've maintained a pretty good regimen of fertilizer, and watering. I'll be honest with you, and watering. But the heat was just too much for him. Let me get a bird's eye view of him so you can take a look at the foliage. So as you can see, a lot of these leaves have a lot of damage, a lot of sun burning damage. Again, it's not from lack of nutrients or water, guys. The newer leaves are looking a little bit more healthy. And I'll even show you the newer leaves up here. So the newer leaves are looking pretty good. Man, it's been a tough summer. I'll tell you, this has been the worst summer for me for tomatoes and for my avocado series because it's just been too hot. And this guy, now that he's almost 11 feet tall, it's really hard to put him anywhere in any other spot where he doesn't either get a lot of wind, a lot of sun, a lot of heat, or I can fit him personally. So it's been a struggle. I really appreciate everyone sticking with me as I failed to provide updates, but look at him. What was I going to show you? And this is the best he's looked in several months. So it's been a struggle, but this is part of growing from seed. You learn, and this is part of growing trees in your zone that don't really thrive in your zone. We're going to continue to work on this guy. I'm assuming because now that it's not so hot, he's going to start healthing up a little bit. I am due to give him a nice fertilizer here in the next 2 weeks, which I will do. I might even expedite it and do it a little early. It'll probably be a balanced 5-5-5 fertilizer. I might go a little heavier on the nitrogen by adding some worm castings to it. But at the end of the day, I just haven't been that happy with his progress this year. He put on a lot more growth last year, which I lost because I left him out in the freeze for a few days, as you recall. So anyway, he's bounced back. He's starting to show some vigor to his foliage. It had looked so poor, but now it's just yellow. My main objective here is to allow him to relax from the sun a little bit, start to put on new foliage, continue to branch out, maybe shed some of these dying leaves or these crispier leaves. I don't really want to prune him yet till he puts on more leaves because I want to make sure he has enough leaf and foliage to produce photosynthesis so that he gets his nutrients. Anyway, I'll give you a little bit more time to take a look at him. Again, he's got several branching. He was very sparse before, but like I said just a minute ago, every time he puts on new foliage and new branching, it just doesn't look that healthy because the sun bakes it. And young tender leaves don't enjoy blazing hot sun. I'm really happy that I've been able to keep this guy alive for 30 months growing from a pit. And more importantly, we're starting to get near that time frame where in the next 12 to 48 months, he might flower and or fruit. You never know. Anyway, everyone, like I said, I know he doesn't look the greatest, and it is what it is. We're learning this year, and this guy has been a good learning for me. I think one of the things I need to prep for next year is probably finding him a new location, one that gets a little bit less wind, one that's not so close to the bricks, one that's not as in the direct sunlight as much. I'll have to find him a shaded spot where he gets partial sun and less wind. The biggest key I've got to do now is, like I said, healthy him up to get him prepped to be indoors. I'll need to make sure I find him a spot indoors that gets ample lighting. And if we can do all that, man, if we can keep this guy going into next season, who knows if next season he might even put on a flower. Who knows? I'm not saying he will, but you never know. Typically, avocado trees grown from a pit take 4 to 7 years until they fruit. We've just hit 30 months, so technically we're still 18 months away from a chance, but you never know. Mother Nature is tricky sometimes, and sometimes she gives you a helping hand, and sometimes she can hurt as well. We all know that. At the end of the day, I appreciate you sticking with me as I give you these updates on these plants that I'm growing from seed. And if you're enjoying this series, despite the lack of updates, sorry, there's mosquitoes everywhere. If you're enjoying this series, despite the lack of updates, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. And as always, everyone, happy gardening, and thanks for watching.